everyone. Welcome to the 19th episode of Supply Chain India. I am Medha Verma. Chocolate is a symbol of happiness and joy. Celebrations are incomplete without biting into a bar of chocolate. Cutting across religion and the world. No age divide. Both young and old cherish the yummy, gooey chocolate. But there is a hidden sad story behind chocolates. Global chocolate makers ignore basic human values in their procurement process. Many cite supply chain invisibility as the main cause for such lapses. Lame excuses. Easter festival is around the corner. Remember bunnies? It's time to shine on the lapses of these giants.
April 6 is round the corner. Easter time. Rather, Easter bunnies and chocolate time. In the United States alone, 90 million chocolate bunnies are produced yearly, and the sale in the run-up to Easter festivities will be easily touching $400 million, say marketers. Chocolate means joy and happiness. Festivities, be it Easter, Christmas or Holi or Diwali, gifting friends and relatives with chocolates is common. The global chocolate market is estimated at around $800 billion. The big boys in this league are Hershey's, Lindt, Mandalay or Cadbury, Nestle, Unilever, Barry Callebaut, Chocolonely, Who, etc. COVID-induced shutdown of airports across the globe hit chocolate makers the hardest. No buying of chocolates at duty-free shops. With country after country going in for lockdown, the sale of chocolates at physical locations too dropped drastically. But things are looking up with people turning to chocolate in these dark times. Talking about chocolates, one cannot escape turning the spotlight on cocoa. Mostly produced in West Africa, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, etc. To an extent, Indonesia too. Cocoa farming is a labor-intensive process. The economic viability of this crop is just one of the challenges in the cocoa supply chain. Farmers often face low yields due to low productivity, degraded soil fertility, pests, and other environmental factors. Helping families keep children in school rather than working on cocoa farms is also essential. Deforestation is a growing risk in some areas due to encroachment on forest reserves and protected areas, pressure from people migration, and lack of knowledge on agroforestry best practices, says the World Cocoa Foundation. Sourcing of raw materials by global chocolate giant makers warrants major scrutiny. A lot of unfair practices are pushed under the carpet in pursuit of profit. Very little attention is paid to supply chain visibility beyond the Tier 1 level. Sickening indeed. But there are some self-appointed watchdogs. One such body presents the Rotten Eggs Award every year, particularly in the chocolate vertical. This year, they also announced recently. The organizers, 5 global NGOs, evaluate chocolates on 6 criteria, namely due diligence, transparency, living income, child labor, deforestation, and agroforestry. The green egg is the best and the red egg being the worst. Japanese companies Itoshu, Meiji, and Morinaga occupy the bottom of the list. Last year's winner, Godiva of Belgium, improved its last year's performance. But child labor needs a lot of work. Unilever, Starbucks, Valhalla, and Stock stayed out by refusing to participate in the award evaluation process. Alter Eco and Tony's Chocolonely and Chocolate Halba or Sunray, though small in size, did better than others. However, all participants improved their transparency and traceability policies. Supply chain visibility is the key barometer that will help overall performance. What about Mars, Nestle, Mondelez? They occupied the middle space as they were rated as starting to implement good policies overall. Mondelez and Nestle fell behind on agroforestry. Chocolates are season agnostic. One can bite into it any day. Next time, When you buy a bar of chocolate, please remember which brand values human lives and does not encourage slavery or child labor. This is Vidya Prakash reporting for Supply Chain India from Singapore.
It's never too late to change and reduce, if not eliminate, unfair sourcing practices and become a better or ethical business enterprise. Let's keep a tab on these chocolate giants. Let us move into Latin America, Brazil to be exact. There is some fresh, interesting political development. Soybean and corn producers and truckers are on the center stage. Bella Swaroop tries to figure out why.
Unrelenting fuel price hike, corruption on highways, falling freight rates. No, we are not talking about India, but Brazil, Latin America's largest nation. Both are members of BRICS. In case you have forgotten, BRICS stand for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The association of 5 major emerging economies formed a decade ago. Leaving aside others, let's focus on Brazil and India. President Jair Bolsonaro is sensitive to truckers' sentiments. It appears on the surface. Like India, Brazil's dependent on road transport for the movement of goods is 2/3. The 10-day truckers' strike in 2018 crippled the economy and shaved off 1.2% of Brazil's GDP. Yes, Brazil was in a forced shutdown mode, much before COVID kicked in. In 2018, the government did not budge and kept the striking truckers at an arm's length. This time, with the Brazilian economy in the doldrums owing to COVID and economic mismanagement, rising fuel prices is a dampener. Any strike threat from truckers, a huge vote bank, will be detrimental to Bolsonaro. Not to be forgotten is the truckers' frontline role in the challenging COVID times for moving the essentials and medicines to fight the pandemic. Politically and economically, it would be suicidal for Bolsonaro to cross swords with the truckers. So this time around, the Brazilian president removed Roberto Castello Branco, the head of government-owned Petrobras, who refused to cap the rising fuel price to placate the peeved truckers. Symbolic? Yes and no. His removal gladdened the hearts of truckers. Beyond that, what? The fuel price was frozen. How long? Nobody knows. Bolsonaro is a pro-market advocate. He plans to sell 8 of his 13 refineries. Brazil accounts for less than 1% of the global oil supply, and its export constitutes 10% of its GDP. Brazil is the world's largest producer of soybean. It produced 130 million tons in 2020, and corn output rose to 105 million tons, almost double over the previous year. Agriculture contributes 22% to its GDP. Most of its soybean goes to China and the United States. For that, soya and corn have to travel by road approximately 2,000 kilometers to the nearest river port. Its BR 163 highway is not in a good shape. Mato Grosso farmers also try river transportation, while the much talked about grain rail link is yet to fructify. It is pertinent to note Brazil will be heading for general elections next year. The sudden reappearance of former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, simply known as Lula, on the horizon is causing ripples. He is a leftist and therefore has a huge trade union backing. It is unclear if he will contest the incumbent. The apex court is yet to clear him of corruption charges for which he was ousted and jailed. Now he is out on technical grounds. Soya and corn growers and truckers form a sizable chunk of vote bank. Whom the truckers will side with is the key question. Pro-market Bolsonaro, or the left icon Lula. The business lobby that supported Bolsonaro is in jitters. What if Lula were to return to power? Worth pondering. Perhaps Bolsonaro may conquer COVID. Lula seems to be more potent than the pandemic.
Let's take a short break here. When we return, Vidya Prakash speaks into the state of Alabama in the United States, where the e-com behemoth Amazon is pitted against its workers who want to form a union. Will they succeed in their move and open the floodgates of trouble for Amazon fulfillment centers across the globe?
We are happy to introduce to our customers Tata DLT Gajraj with upgraded technology and design. The conventional axle arrangement in the 4x2 prime mover has been redesigned to enable an increase in the payload up to 6.5 to 9 tons. This increase is within the permissible limits of CMVR. Different configurations are available with the upgraded design. All the designs are ARAI approved, making them more authentic and trustworthy. The Gajraj range of trailers has successfully passed the ARAI track trail test as per AIS 113 at WABCO Chennai with the ARAI certified Tata DLT axle and Tata DLT 13-ton air suspension kit. Weight distribution along the axles is managed so as to ensure effective carriage. Hence, the customer gets about the same load in a 4x2 prime mover that was possible with a 6x4 prime mover, making it cost-effective and curbing the need to invest in a higher-end prime mover. Our Gajraj range offers 3 types of configurations, that is, in 52-ton, 54-ton and 55-ton. This redesigning is sure to reduce the operating cost and increase your profitability. Choose your variant and prosper with Gajraj.
Welcome back. For us, Amazon no longer means the world's largest river. For us, Amazon is the American company that has revolutionized our lives in more ways than one can imagine. Like we say, ask Google for clarifying doubts, we have come to a stage where we say, don't worry, Amazon will deliver. It has built such a formidable reputation on the delivery front, which is a key element of logistics. But all is not kosher. Vidya Prakash captures this brewing battle of wits between Amazon and 6,000 warehouse workers at its brand new Alabama fulfillment center.
Amazon is in a red hot zone. Never in its history it anticipated the prospect of facing unionized labor at its fulfillment centers or warehouses. This may change if the 6,000 workforce at Bessemer in Alabama state of the south of United States. The workers in this Amazon facility will be voting to decide whether they should organize themselves into a union. Have they had any serious issues with Amazon? Yes and no. The less said about the stringent daily work quota to be performed, the better. These practices have been well documented, courtesy of the vigilant media in the United States. At the same time, Amazon pays almost double the statutory minimum wages prescribed across the Biden land. Amazon has taken advertising space to harp on this crucial factor. But when we pay you well, why do you need a union? Is Jeff Bezos' team's argument. Sounds logical. Amazon is wooing workers at its Alabama fulfillment via texts, messages, etc., saying that the unionization would lead them to losing their voice to be heard directly. Amazon is not happy with the possibility of the collective bargaining route taking shape. If this exercise succeeds in Alabama, then the juggernaut cannot be stopped at every other Amazon fulfillment center. An anti-union website called doitwithoutdues.com is also deployed to wean the 6,000 workers from participating in the vote to unionize. The retail, wholesale and department store union is supporting the voting exercise. If the majority vote for the unionization, this union will be the one managing the show and negotiating with Amazon on behalf of the workforce. Amazon employs 800,000 people in the United States. It is the second largest employer in the private sector after Walmart. Unions do exist in Amazon workshops in Europe. All eyes are on Alabama. Which way will the wind blow? Nobody knows. Recently, the Union of Auto Workers failed to unionize at Volkswagen and Nissan factories in the South. It is argued that UAW was an outsider. RWDSU, being the local union, is confident of winning. Plus, more than 2/3 of Alabama's Amazon workers are blacks, and historically, they are pro-workers and therefore pro-union, unlike their white counterparts. This warehouse is the latest one that came up close to the pandemic, sweeping the world and the United States as well. American President Joe Biden is in a pick-win situation. In the run-up to the elections that helped him occupy the White House in January after defeating the Republican government with Donald Trump as president, Biden spoke eloquently about righting the wrongs of labor practices. He emphasized that workers would be better off if they are unionized. Within the first fortnight, he tweeted, "The policy of our government is to encourage union organizing, and employers should ensure that their workers have a free and fair choice to join a union." Now, there is a deafening silence from the Biden administration. Alabama is a black-dominated state. Biden tried to win over them in the aftermath of the Black Lives Matter movement, a tricky issue. Significantly, workers in several auto plants in Alabama have rejected the unionization move. March 30th is the last date for the polling that will change the labor landscape, just not for Amazon, one of the biggest job generators in America, thanks to the online buying spree. There is no stopping the feverish growth of Amazon across the globe. The marginalization of workers in the 21st century digital economy is a sore point. Put it differently, the dignity of labor in the digital economy is worth fighting for, says The Guardian's editorial from London. Is it the repeat of Rosa Parks' movement, who refused to vacate the bus seat, leading to the birth of the civil rights movement in the United States? The answer to this will have to wait till March 30th. This is Vidya Prakash reporting for Supply Chain India from Singapore.
You buy something through the likes of Amazon, Flipkart, or any other e-com company, and you find the item delivered is not what you ordered or the wrong size. Therefore, you want to return, and these companies are expected to take it back. That is what it is called reverse logistics. But sometimes, the cost of taking it back costs more than the item's value. Companies of late began to tell customers, keep it or dump it, no worries. Funny? Sensible actually, Bella Swaroop reports.
One big positive fallout of the COVID pandemic was the resultant boom in e-commerce. Online buying took off at incredible speed, compelled by stay-at-home restrictions. Retailers' cup of joy was overflowing until a new challenge began to raise its ugly head, namely returns. Not that earlier there were no returns. In the pre-COVID era, returns were tolerable and manageable. During the COVID and now, returns are ballooning. There is a cost involved in collecting the rejected merchandise from the buyer. Who will bear the reverse logistic cost? Not the courier, but the retailer. Walmart and Amazon in the United States began telling customers to junk the unwanted items. Put it simply, dear customers, please keep the unwanted items. Simultaneously, these e-com giants began rating the credit worthiness of customers. More rejections automatically put these customers into a dicey basket, and they may not get prompt service. That's fine. Not that customers attempt this rejection rate deliberately. However, one survey said that the number of e-commerce packages returned in 2020 rose 70% from 2019. Once they realize that their rejection quotient has turned into a challenge to do more online shopping, may usher in course correction, it is believed. Even e-com companies are reluctant to be harsh because various surveys indicate that online buying may not vanish once the pandemic is eliminated, whenever that is.
Well, that's all in this edition of Supply Chain India episode 19. Hope you liked it. Send your feedback, share and subscribe to our channel. We will be back with another edition soon. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe. Goodbye.